looking for I'm looking for my morning motivation. Yesterday, I have there are only a few people in my life that I take real thoughtful information from, that I know have been studied, that have been around for a really, really long time, that goes beyond the pale, that goes a little bit deeper than the average person will, because we oftentimes get into this space where, good morning, Laura, good morning, Shaquilla, good morning to the both of you. We often get into this space where we read something about someone and we don't dig a little deeper to find out more history. We're in this space where, as she said to me yesterday, we're lazy. We don't try to dig deeper and to find out why. And we have this cancel culture really took a hold on us, because if someone did something that we didn't like, we cancel them for the rest of our lives. And then we just, because they said this and they said that, and they, happy birthday, Bobby, happy birthday. They said this and they said that, and I don't believe them anymore. And then we then become the people that we don't want to become by being just as harmful, in our words and the things that we do. Good morning, Desinia. So let my morning motivation today, and I have tons of them. I say this all the time. I really do need to put them in different categories because there's a whole lot of them. So this one. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I see all of you here. Happy birthday, Bobby. Happy birthday. I'm so excited that you made it to this stage in your life and that you will continue to do what you're doing. It is now a blessing. Hi, Dennis. It is now a blessing to get past the age of 50 and 60 and 70. It really, really is. Which, by the way, you all will see my father. He's coming this way. He's coming this way in early November. So I'm preparing my heart, my soul, and everything else. But we'll talk about that another day. I have always been gregarious, bold, full of life, and if I set my sights on doing something, you better believe it will get done. I have also always been open and kind where people least expect it, because I have a serious reputation for being no nonsense and not one to cross, especially when it comes to the lives of children. And guess what? I made the mistake of allowing one person to get into my head, and I began to slowly doubt what I was doing, second guessed my gregariousness, began thinking maybe I shouldn't think I can do such and such. But God, you see, God has a way of sending us just what we need, just when we need it. He sent me a light. That light kept reminding me to never fear what I had already done over and over again. That light told me I could and I am doing what is good and right. That light reminded me of the power of prayer and faith. That light stayed beside me and was my cheerleader, even as darkness kept trying to hold onto my hem like a muddy boulder in an effort to keep me stagnant. I thank God for that light. I made some incredibly bold moves in 2017. I was intentionally quiet about them. Do not be shocked when you see the manifestation of these moves in 2018 and beyond. The only thing that stops me is me. I thank my light often, and I am reminded that I too must continue to be a light to those sent my way. Oh my God. So the reason I read this particular one, and you can tell that I wrote this in 2017, I mean, I've just been writing quite a bit, is that yesterday two things happened. I got on the air, and I said to all of you, I'm not feeling so motivated. I don't know if I really want to stay on the air, blah, 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 blah. And Laura called me, and I didn't see it for like a half an hour. She sent me a text and she said, listen, I could feel your energy yesterday. Come on, lunch is on me. I'll take you to lunch. I'll get you some soup. And good morning, Andrea. And we ended up going to the Chestnut Hill Bar and Grill Cafe in Chestnut Hill. And we sat and we had lunch. And as we were having lunch, and she had me cracking up, but we were laughing and talking about all the things, I started to feel better. Oftentimes when we are covering the news and covering the serious topics of what's going on in the world and beyond us, we forget to think we forget that we are humans. And every once in a while, this thing creeps up on me. just creeps upon me, and I'm like, I don't know if I get this feeling like I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I and so thank you, Laura. I'm thanking you very publicly for this. And I offered to pay for half the lunch. She's like, no, put your money away, keep your coins. I just wanted to treat you. So I am acknowledging the kindness of others as they happen, because I do my stuff silently. Like when I help other people, I do it silently. But when people help me, I publicly acknowledge it because I just want to say thank you all so, so much. Just thank you. Thank you, Laura. And then I called Joanne Bell, and we began talking. And Joanne reminded me, because you see, Joanne is a woman of a certain age, and she remembered the Wilson Good administration. She remembered all the things that were going on way back then, and she can connect the dots and the pieces together. So there were some things that I was thinking about as I was reading the news, because like her, I'm nowhere near she is, but she sends me things to read. I send her things to read, and we've been in our different corners connecting the dots. So when we began talking yesterday, and she said several things that I knew to be true because of all the reading and research I had done, it made my heart so happy, because so often we sit in spaces where we regurgitate the stuff. We don't dig a little bit deeper. We don't ask the questions, and we don't recognize what really is going on in this country. It definitely goes way beyond our current president. Before was he born? May have been born, like way back then. And these folks they bide their time. They plan, they pivot, they do all the things that they need to do, so that by the time we get to this iteration in 2025, and the other thing is, because what they said was absolutely true. They said they could put this stuff out in writing and nobody would read it, and if they read it, they wouldn't believe it because they would think it was too fantastic. And so now here we're caught up, and I'm watching folks who we didn't think. Remember, for those of you who are believers, remember said that God can even use a stone. He can use anything to get his message across. So now people like Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene and a few others have put themselves on the front line. They literally understanding that they could be taken out of here, may be taken out of here, just trying to tell the truth. But because they were figures that nobody liked, kind of like Saul, who then became Paul. Saul used to tear everybody up in the Bible. For those of you who read the Bible, Saul was horrific, ripped everyone apart, was killing folks, was doing all kinds of terrible things until he met his Damascus. He was on the road to Damascus and went blind, and then changed his whole life around. And it took people a while to believe that Saul became Paul and was the person that was now trying to help other folks around the country. My thought for this morning for all of you is this: we are never always the same people. We as human beings will make mistakes. One of the worst things I think happen in this country and around the globe is the cancel culture. Somebody makes a mistake, you just completely get rid. And I mean, the mistake could be egregious, but none of us stay the same. We all make decisions, and sometimes those decisions happen in full public view for everybody to see. And I'm reminded by Steve Jobs, who said, this internet, this World Wide Web, this having everything at the tip of our fingertips that we can regurgitate and rip people apart and tear people down and be unforgiving. That is all. It's a thing that is destroying us as human beings, and it's destroying folks around the world, because our children and other adults have had access to this instantaneous World Wide Web that everybody links to and go, I can't believe, and the things that we say we would never do. If you're going to practice kindness, if you're going to be forgiving, it can't just be forgiveness for some. When you see the evidence that shows that people have changed and have become and have pivoted and have seen the light, then you don't continue to ignore them and malign them, right? It's why we can't get anywhere right now. It's why we're sitting here going, oh my God, I can't believe that. Also, let me say one more thing. Bullies are cowards. Bullies are cowards who hide behind, the bravado, not wanting to see themselves or face the things that they've said and done. But we all have our Damascus moment, every single one of us at all times. And so I must have spoken to Joanne for well over an hour. And when I got off the phone with her, between Laura taking me to lunch and Joanne Bell codifying the history that I had been looking up and researching and going backwards and backwards and back. I mean, I'm going way back just to come forward to see why the things are happening that are happening now. When she codified that I was not crazy, I was like, woohoo, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. So get people in your lives. It doesn't have to be 10 or 15 or even 3 or 5. It could be just one person. It could be just one person. And I am grateful for the wisdom of those who have been here, who understood, can see something that most people can't see, and have kindness in their hearts, even when people are not behaving and unseemly. Still, Joanne has helped so many people who have dug her back out. And she knew they dug her back out. And then when they called her, she still helped them. That's the reverse of cancel culture. She knows not to tell them certain things. She knows not to have them in certain rooms. But if they need support and help, she gives it to them. That's the kind of leadership I'm looking for. That's the kind of person, that's the kind of example that I need in my life. Now, is she perfect? Hell no. Am I perfect? I had double hell no, right? And we make mistakes. And the other thing I like is when I do a sidestep and I do something I was supposed to do, she said, baby. She and Dr. Doreen Laurie. Dr. Doreen Laurie, she come and say, I know you mean well, but you are wrong, and here is why. Both of them give me the history. They give me what to go research and look for so that I can make up my mind about, and then I'll say, you know what? I did not get that right. I did not get that right. Or I'll say, yeah, I hear you, but, and give them my argument. And then they'll say, oh, I see where you're coming from. You understand what I'm saying? We have to be able to have these kinds of conversations with each other. But if we surround ourselves with people who are always codifying everything we say, that make us feel like we're never wrong, we have the wrong group of people around us. There has to be somebody that should be able to say, sis, this is not right. Bruh, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in. This is not right. But we have gotten so sanctified and self-aggrandizing about, I am doing this and I'm here and I've made it. Every damn morning I get up, I say, Andrea, what can you do today that'll make a difference? What can you do today that will make you walk in kindness? What can you do today that'll make you show up properly? You're not going to always get it right. What can you do today? What can you do and say today that makes you seek first to understand instead of always wanting to be understood? When I started this media company a year ago, another thing that Joanne codified, the first thing I did, y'all, was spend $20-something thousand in equipment, not just for my sitting here in my space to do the morning show, but when I'm out on the street doing live broadcasts, $20,000. Let me tell you how I need to spend another 60 to have to really get this production to where it needed to be. You all have walked with me for a whole year where Instagram was going in and out, Facebook was going in and out, all of that foolishness. Had to find a program that I could do it in one space. The space that I'm in right now still won't take Instagram, but until it does, I'm staying off of Instagram. It doesn't make sense for me to be broadcasting my stuff go in and out and you can't hear me and all that other stuff. It takes money. It takes money. So for this first year, Martha made nothing. I was paying people, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I see where the money is going, right? And what I did was go into my closet and all the stuff that I've had. I've been wearing stuff that's 14 years old, 10 years old. It looks new to you. But I have a bunch of stuff that I don't need to buy anything else. And so I'm pulling stuff out the closet, stuff that's been stuffed in that I haven't seen because I had way too many things. And then I gave away 4 huge bags of clothes, right? And I'm navigating and trying to figure out what's the best thing to do, how to do. And we're continually figuring out how to improve what we do. We don't get lazy or complacent. Let me not say lazy. We don't get complacent because oftentimes when people go into business, when entrepreneurs go into business, they say, well, I got to pay the rent and I got to pay. Yes, you do. But if you don't invest in your business will not grow. And when I first talked about, I went to 2 people. Denise James, who used to be a reporter for Channel 6 ABC News, and Troy Wilmore. And they both sat me down and said, you need this, you need that, you need that, you need that. And if you're going to do this right, da 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 da. And so I began little by little. purchasing the pieces that I know I need to do. So that's how now, a year into this, I really have a seamless broadcast and just will not have anything else out here. So for those of you who think starting a podcast, and listen, I'm not trying to deter you. If you want to start a podcast and all you have in that moment is your phone and a decent microphone, create a space behind you that looks really well. And I'm trying to encourage those of you, because YouTube just had to pay 2 point something million dollars to the president for locking them up. So everybody is figuring out how to come at these platforms. And so I've already been working in progress to pivot from YouTube, if that becomes a thing, when that becomes a thing, because most of us are over here, right? We're on YouTube and we're on Facebook. I'm on Facebook on Divine Mother Diva page, right? We have to figure out how to pivot and to keep moving. But it's also way less expensive than having a television station or a radio station and also do all those other things. It's way less expensive. So you just need a small team. So if you don't have anything but your phone and a little stand to put your stuff on, and just make sure that whatever the content it is that you're giving is excellent. Make sure that wherever you're podcasting or broadcasting from, your internet access is strong, right? And all of that costs money. So if you do that, that may cost you a good phone, $1,500. Good internet access may cost you another $400 to get the proper router, and then, to pay monthly. Everything costs money. Everything. And so for this first year, we have been a year now. It's October, a year into broadcasting Mornings with Mother Live. You've grown, you've asked, you've been on Substack, you have been sponsoring by, signing up, to make sure that we continue to get money in so that we can continue to broadcast the way that we need to, right? You've become members of Substack. YouTube is still very free for all of you. You've decided you want to monetize it, that's fine. To send money, that's fine. But what Joanna and I talked about was, she said, I watched you. You've literally been following the protocols and doing what needs to be done. And you show up every morning on time when you are on. You're on every day of the week, like you say you're going to be. And your stuff is not spotty, right? So all those things make a difference. I'm hoping to encourage someone today. And when you set out to interview people, shore up your interview style. My interview style is very conversational, love talking to people, putting the stuff out of them. Pastor Waller is famous for saying, I sit with you when I feel like I'm in the living room and I just start talking all kinds of things, right? In fact, on this day, a year ago, Pastor Waller, August, so this July, August, late August, Pastor Waller called me and said, I really want to get my podcast and I want to do it right. And I really want you to walk with me so that you can show me your interview process. What does that look like? I said, yep, I can do it until about December, because I knew I was starting A.Lawful Truth. I know I was going to do Divine Mother Diva. I knew I was going to do the A.Lawful Truth podcast, and I knew I was going to do Mornings with Mother. So I gave him a finite amount of time. And I said, but it can't just be us sitting in your basement somewhere. I need a whole podcast room. Man, a year ago today, I walked into Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church, and he had a whole system set up, a whole room with the cameras. And now in that room was about $115,000 worth of equipment. But that's what I'm talking about. You've got to be able to invest in yourself. And we sat down, Pastor Waller and I, we began interviewing people. I stopped doing it maybe the end of December, because we were right there in the elections and we were talking about things. And right after the elections happened, I got on there and blah, 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 blah. So I haven't done it now for 10 months. And people still stop me on the street and go, I love what you and Pastor Waller did together. But he's doing it on his own now. And he's interviewing folks. And he's, all the things. He's got his own interview style and he's doing beautifully. Now that was kindness. His words to me were, you've been dealt a blow. I am going to open up a space for you so people can continue to remember you. And so by October 15th, I told him, I was on his show and I told folks, A.Lawful Truth podcast is going to start. This is what we're going to do. And so thank you to Pastor Waller and your kindness. Thank you to those of you who continue to show up despite my pivoting. Thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to the people who subscribe so that I could hire people and get the equipment and do what needed to be done so we could be on the air. You have to have the willingness. You have to be willing to take the risk. If you're risk averse, this is not going to happen, right? I didn't know how this was going to turn out, but all of you, and you continue to show up. And so this morning, I need you to understand that when I am in a space where I feel like I can't do this anymore, I remember the sacrifices that were made for me to be able to sit in this space and say, welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. We have followed that moniker. We have. We absolutely have. And with the A Lawful Truth podcast, we're reworking, reimagining it right now, but I'm interviewing people. So I've got folks that are now sitting that I've interviewed, and there are more people that I'm going to interview. We're very intentional about who we talk to. Very intentional, because we want to be able to help people. This is not about just, getting clicks and likes. God spoke to me years ago. He said, let me tell you something. If you continue to treat my people well, there is nothing you will want or need. So I'm not concerned about the clicks and the likes at this moment. I'm concerned about building a solid foundation that can grow years from now. 10 years from now, you're going to be like, yo, Marva, I remember when you started. I remember when you pivoted. Roland Martin has been on for years. When they told him he was declared that he was fired from XYZ, he's been in this space for years. He didn't grow to 1 million viewers in, 2 minutes. Joyanne Reed is up to 400,000. You think that after she got off MSNBC with all the people that were listening, that her viewership would go? It takes time. It takes time. And you have to be willing to invest the time. You have to be willing to say, yo, can't do that right now. You have to be willing to say, you know what? I'm not going to spend any money to do XYZ because I have employees to pay. I have folks. I have contractors that work with me that have to get paid. And they get paid on time every month. And they get paid a livable wage. Nobody's getting paid $9 an hour, $7 an hour. Nobody. So that means I have to take a step back and say, okay, what are we going to do? So never, ever, if someone is running their business and running it with fidelity, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes. And don't look and say, oh, they're getting such amount of money, so they'll be fine. No, it takes a ton of money to run these things. So thank you, Laura, for the lunch. And thank you, Joanne Bell. Just thank you. Every one of us needs encouragement. I think I talked to Marguerite too for a little bit. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. It's important. I don't need people to tell me what to do. I need people to listen or to just encourage, because it's not easy. It's really not easy. Now, this interview that I'm getting ready to do is one I want you to particularly listen to, because I want parents to hear. I want those of you who are adults who have always thought something was going on differently with you to hear. And I want you to be encouraged by what you listened to this morning. I'm about to let him in. Good morning, sir. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, you loud and clear. Praise the Lord. Daniel Everett is the co-founder of 1412 Connections, an organization that partners with churches, businesses, and nonprofits to build trust, deepen engagement, and develop learning solutions that are personal, purposeful, and lasting. He's a husband, father of 6, and a veteran whose journey from the streets of the inner city, West Philadelphia, to a life of service and spiritual leadership shapes everything he builds. That sounds really good, but I met Daniel maybe about 3 weeks ago, and I have to tell you something. I still have not fully talked about what happened at Christian Compassion CDC, because I'm still very full.
Right.
And it's important that this conversation that you and I are about to have is one that everybody hears and listens. Like, I want you to take out every preconceived notion that you've ever had and pay attention to what this man is saying. Yes, Marguerite, you are also I am willing to accept constructive feedback. I've always been, because nobody can grow without learning, right? We're not perfect all the time. Daniel, welcome to Mornings with Marva. It is a pleasure to have you here. And I'm giving you space. You're going to have about 40 minutes to talk about what.
Okay.
40 minutes. Yes, sir. I'm giving it to you. Okay.
Okay.
So Start from the very beginning. When was the first time you realized that something was unique about you?
It was probably in I want to say first grade. I had noticed that there was some tension between me and my teachers, but I hadn't.
Your voice just went down.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is
It's
that
probably the
better?
microphone. No, you went low again.
Yeah. Maybe I should just take these off and.
Are you in a quiet place?
Yeah, I'm in a quiet place.
Okay, so take it off. Okay.
I'll just get rid of these and hopefully it'll. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you're low again.
No, it's still.
It's okay. Let's just see. Did you turn it off? Uh huh.
All right.
Talk
What
again.
about? Yeah, I know.
Ah,
Can
yeah.
you hear
There
me now?
you go. There
That's
you go.
better. Okay.
Yes.
So I had noticed that there was some tension. I didn't think my teachers liked me very much. I um and or I should say teacher in elementary school, and it seemed to be some frustration. I remember taking one of those tests, and I one of the like the S the I don't even remember what it was. The one where you fill in the bubbles, and I remember I think I'd gone onto a section I wasn't supposed to, and the look of frustration on my teacher's face was just like it was it was a lot, right? And I didn't have the vocabulary to kind of articulate what was going on. I didn't even really understand it. Um, but I think the the probably most the most impact that I like the situation that really that made me figure it out was when I came home. I had failed the first grade and I went to summer school. And I remember coming home with my report card from summer school and handing it to my grandmother and her saying, I've never seen grades like this. And it wasn't in a good way. And so that was probably the first time. That's the first memory I have of being like, okay, well, wait a minute, so I'm not tracking like everybody else is. And just because I was confident that when I came home, I would hand it over. I didn't look at it and everything would be okay, but it wasn't okay, and I ended up having to repeat the first grade. So that was probably the first time.
Yeah. And when did you first learn the word autism?
Actually, not till I was an adult. That's the
That
thing.
part.
Right. It's so um I sometimes I see letters and numbers in out of sequence. I also had a ton of energy. I can remember once I was tied to a chair in elementary school. I don't think people are supposed to do that, but I wasn't old enough to be able to be like, hey, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any better. So, but I remember being like because of the amount of energy that I had, and I also um realize that there are certain things that certain tells that I have that like put me on the spectrum. And so or on the wheel, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
because we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to call it a spectrum. And so it wasn't until I was an adult that I started hearing some of these things. And honestly, I have 6 kids, as you mentioned, and I have two of my kids exhibit some of the same signs. Having had them evaluated, I'm seeing characteristics that are tells that they have that I had as a child. And so it's really in being a father that I've really come to realize, oh, okay, I they were getting this from me, and I had these same cognitive challenges. Um,
Did your the way you had your children tested, did your mother have you tested and had you diagnosed?
So my mother did tell me that at one point in time she did have me tested, but she never gave me the results of that test. And I think that the sign of the times was especially, and I'll just be frank, within the Black community, if there's an issue, you don't necessarily embrace that issue. Everything is fine. Your kid is fine. And then I don't care what those people said, that your kid is
Mhm.
fine. And I think that my mom did do that. Now, to her credit, like they wanted to place me in classes for kids with learning disabilities, and my mom instead chose to um, send me to a private Christian school
Mhm.
with smaller classrooms, and it was in that environment that I thrived.
Mhm. Mhm. As we were at this conference, Shakila Strawberry,
Yeah,
um, Dare to Educate. What does A stand for? Dare to
the
Educate.
audacity.
Audacity to
Yeah,
Dare to Educate.
audacity.
Okay.
Right,
And there were a couple of things that I learned sitting there moderating the conversation that Saturday. One was that if your child has been diagnosed on the autism wheel as young, that instead of burying your head in the sand, and many of the parents said they felt like they had done something wrong. They felt like,
right,
they had done something to their child, that their child, they just didn't know what to do, what was going to happen to their child, how were they going to navigate. Some one parent said that she struggled with the school because they weren't trying to give her child the services, so she had to put her child out of the county, in the county, into a special
right.
school to make sure. But the thing that I heard that stuck with me the most, Daniel, was keep your child in a regular education class, because that will help them to envelop and develop and grow as normally as possible. What do you say
Right.
to that?
Um, I partly agree and partly disagree. I think that each kid is different. These are not cookie cutter children simply because they're outside of this. Like, I believe that each kid, you have to figure it out. A lot of my children, um, my wife has been homeschooling my kids for the last 10 to 12 years.
Okay.
And what we've learned is each kid is different and each kid learns differently.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we kind of tailor their education to the individual kid. And not everybody has the ability to do that. But my point is that some kids, like with one of my 13-year-old, our plan is to have him do a portion of his schooling online and a portion of it is going to be in class, because unlike his older brother, being able to go fully into class is not going to be something that he can do. So it's just a matter of trying to find the right, um sorry, army
Setting.
terminology, but battle
Yeah, the right
terminology. You
setting
gotta,
for each child.
right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. You have to do that. And so that may work. Placing your kid in like all normal classes and with a plan, that's important. No matter what happens, you have to have that individual plan and you have to make sure that the school is following it. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, sometimes there's a lot of kids and our kids get swept under the rug because they're trying
Mm-hmm.
to process so many children through. And you have to make sure that they're doing what they have agreed to do,
Yes.
um, in order for you to be able to ensure that your child is getting the education that they need. Because if not, how many times have I recalled a situation with one of my older boys and asked, like, well, he's being a disruption in the class. He's being disruptive in the class. It was like, okay, is he sitting near you? Is and according with his plan? Well, no. Why not? Right? You're supposed to keep him away from that environment. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just it. And then, you have to ensure. So I think that there's each individual plan for each child has to be
Mm-hmm.
tailored to them, has to change and grow with them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important because once they become adults, whether or not they go to college or if they go to work somewhere, those plans can be used to generate plans. The ADA, they can be used to
Mm-hmm.
form ADA plans for them in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and that's important. They can get a job coach that will help them navigate this
Mm-hmm.
world, and you don't have to be the only person advocating for your
Mm-hmm.
child. Like
Mm-hmm.
so it's important, um, to tailor it to the children. So that
Yeah.
might work for some.
Yeah. The I think the biggest lesson that I want to impart to folks is that depending on where children or adults land on the autism wheel, they're not people to be treated as if they can't focus, that they can't accomplish and achieve. How old were you when you realized that you were on the autism wheel?
That's just it. It was when I started having my kids diagnosed. So I want to
What?
say, yeah, that's the way it is. Like I knew that I was dyslexic.
Yes.
I knew that I kind of knew that I had ADHD, but it wasn't until I got to, seeing my child go through the process and they
Hmm.
analyzed him. So we're talking recently. We're talking like, yeah, like it's like
Wow.
embarrassingly recently.
No, no, no,
So,
that's not embarrassing
yeah.
because I have a 50-year-old sister. She'll be 50 next year. Who says I'm on?
Mhm.
I just know I'm on the wheel. We always just thought she was quirky, and she's
Right,
very accomplished and doing amazing things. It doesn't mean that if you're on the wheel that you can't be. But she just she and so she's going to get
right,
herself tested. How old are you now?
right. I am 47.
Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah. Yeah.
47.
And guess
And
who
I
found out
I
and guess who found out they were on the autism wheel when she was in the conference? Me. I'm
me.
ADHD like no. And my mother couldn't figure it out. She said
Right,
if they were giving
right,
out medication at that time, I would have been like, oh my God. Because I was bouncing all over the place. I had thoughts of my own,
right,
doing my own thing. My
right,
brain moves at the speed of sound, right?
right,
All those things are a part of it.
right. But they're also a superpower when you think about it. You wouldn't be who you are without those things.
Yep.
And you were made to be differently. I think the
Yep.
problem that we have is we want our kids to fall into, we want to, not just our kids, but ourselves as well. We want to fall into this normal spectrum, and then we want to excel within that normal spectrum.
Yes.
But I don't think I think that we all have we're all very very different, and we can't
Very
be
much so.
placed into these same pegs. And I think that
Yes.
that's some if I had to say one thing about the school system that I do not really appreciate, it would be that kind of like churning out factory setting of everybody being the same. We're not.
We're not.
And I learn very, very differently than other people do. And because of my experiences, I get to a certain place and I get imposter syndrome. I start thinking that I'm not supposed to be here. They don't know what I've been through and
Yeah.
how unintelligent or stupid I am,
Yes.
and I'm not supposed to be sitting in this room with these
Yes.
people.
Yes.
But that's all based in my experience during my more developmental phase.
What is the message that you want to give people? Because Marguerite says,
Mhm.
I don't believe any person diagnosed with autism has the same behavior. The spectrum is vast. It is vast.
It
The
is
message
vast,
I want
yes.
to send to people though, Daniel, is just because someone learns differently or may not grasp things the way you grasp things does not mean that they're disabled. That's the word that
Right,
I'd like to be taken away from that.
right, right.
Right?
I I would say that the most important thing, at least for me, has been I mean, we talked about flexibility at the conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it's redefining success,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to redefine success. I have my oldest biological son, because I do have a foster kid. My oldest biological son is like a really, really high functioning, right? We're positive of that. And he wants to be an engineer. He likes to run track. He doesn't get along with people so much, but he's very good in all this. He's very excellent at math. He's going to be successful. I know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have another kid who has more of a challenge when it comes down to those things, but very much um, when it comes down to emotional intelligence, he has very, very high emotional intelligence. He's aware of what's going on around him. They have different qualities. I It would be easy for me to look at the oldest one and say this is the standard and everybody has to fall into it. But if I did that, then my younger child would automatically fail, right? And as they say about teaching, like a fish trying to climb a tree, being judged
Yes.
off of that, that's what it would be. I have to redefine success. I have to be able to say, okay, for him, what is success? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, all I really want for him to be able to do is take care of himself, be a good man. right? That's what I want. And so
Mhm.
I have to define it like that. I can't allow the frustration. A lot of times we look at our kids, we put blame on ourselves.
Yep.
We sometimes blame the kid, we blame the other parent. There's friction and there's problems. There's problems in the relationship afterwards because of the shame that we have. That's not it. The
Mhm.
problem at that point becomes us. We have to redefine success. We have to rise to that challenge and change the way we think. Okay, what's a good fit for my kid? Right? Is he like now? And who knows? I'm not saying that my kid will never be an astronaut. I don't think he'll be an
Mhm.
astronaut, but maybe he will. Maybe
Mhm.
in finding the kind of education and the rhythm that works for him, we'll be able
Mhm.
to help him process all kinds of different things. Be-
Absolutely. And to think outside the box. So Laura says, I learned that people on the wheel are actually geniuses. Boom, boom, boom. In many
Mhm.
instances. Who knew? It's true. It is absolutely true. I know Tiffany said her son was diagnosed with ADHD freshman year of college. Laverne
Mhm.
says, I speak of it also, and I'm sure my son is on the spectrum. I don't like that it's so much shaming. That's the part that I want to stop. The
Right,
stigmatization and the shaming
right,
around being on the autism wheel.
right, right. And I agree. We have to normalize it and get away from um some of the negative thoughts that come
Mhm.
that come around that. We have to start looking at um you we have to start looking at, and I see that his older sounds like a very
Yes,
successful
Andrea
engineer.
Manley. She said his oldest sounds like every successful
Right,
engineer I know, self included, including my
right,
husband, Andrea, including my
right,
husband. Yes,
right. And
yes.
think about the things that these people have brought into existence, that they've created,
Mhm,
that they've
mhm,
fixed, that they've done. We're not designed to think the same.
mhm,
I remember I went to a conference once and a gentleman he was talking about engineers, and he was talking about, and it's
mhm,
kind of off subject, but he started talking about the fact that all of the engineers were all white males, right? And there was one young lady she's a white young lady. She was hired
mhm,
and she was there, but she kind of kept to herself and she was very,
mhm,
very quiet.
mhm,
And then they were going through something where they were trying to figure out a new pump system, and their supervisor said, "All right, I haven't heard from you." He asked the young lady, "What do you think?" And then she
mhm.
analyzed it for a little while. She said, "Well, maybe if we redesigned it to be more like a scrunch for your hair,
Scrunchy,
scrunchie
yes.
or whatever. Yeah, a scrunchie for your hair." And they were like, I guess none of them had daughters. I don't know, but they were like, "What's a scrunchie? I don't understand a scrunchie." So she
Mhm,
pulled it out of her hair. She showed them, and they end up designing this brand new system that they were able to patent. And the whole purpose of that was, it wasn't just that their group was diverse, it was diversity of thought. And it's through our diversity of thought that we can achieve much greater things. If everybody's the same, we're going to run into the same thinking trap,
absolutely.
right? We need people that
Absolutely.
think outside the box, as it were,
Yep.
or think different.
Mhm, mhm.
And it
And
really is a
that's the
superpower.
problem that we're having right now, Daniel. There is no real diversity of thought. We're all
Right,
grouped in these groups of I believe this. Well, this one believes this, so we're all going to go into this group and believe that. And it's those
right,
people that sit on the fringes
right,
that can think
right,
outside the box and say, I really want you to take a look at this in a different way.
right,
Sometimes, many times, that person is ignored until it's proven that that person was correct, right? Because
right,
folks just
right.
can't think outside that box.
Outside the
Um,
box, right.
it is, my husband built his first robot when he was 9 in the backyard,
Which
brings
is
it
amazing.
inside, and his grandmother was looking at him like he tells this story, and I was like, oh my God, what the hell, right?
Right,
And he
right,
knew he learned
right.
differently. He knew he was quirky. His mother never had him tested. She said she did not want to know. But
Didn't
when
want
we
to
got
know.
into a relationship, I was like, there's something different about you. He's smart as hell. He thinks differently. People crack up laughing at the way he thinks on Facebook because he does these things in a
Right,
certain way, and we're all cracking up. But guess what? He's on the spectrum. I'm on the spectrum. I have
right,
a sister who's on the
right,
spectrum, right? And so what
right,
we do is we figure out how to normalize what should be normal. Because to your point, if
right.
we don't have diversity of thought and everybody thinks the same way, then what are we going to do?
Then what? Right. There's no advancement. There's no change. There's no improvement. It's
Yeah,
just just a steady, we
yeah,
just stay in the same lane. And
yeah.
I think it's really important, and that we because, and it's funny because we never really celebrate any of these people until they actually do something that go, if they're fortunate enough, because you it's not just about um having the idea, right? The circumstances have to be right. People have to be able to permit certain ideas. Einstein, as an example, is
Mhm.
somebody who had to be.
Oh, baby. He had all the things on the wheel, from
All
the
of it.
rooter to the tutor.
Right. And we celebrate him because of his accomplishments, but what about the people who were like Einstein that didn't have that one option, that one opportunity to excel in front of
Mhm.
someone and
Yes.
then be celebrated? How
Yes.
many blessings are we missing out on because we're not allowing the people around us to really be themselves
Yes.
and to think the way they need to think? And
Yeah.
so um and we're not where it's a shame because I don't know where I would be without the things I feel hold me back. And it's not my it's not any of the challenges I face, right? I don't think the cognitive, I find ways to get around that. I think that my confidence is what I constantly, that is my enemy when it comes down to it. Like I have to go back because of my experience as a youth. I have to go back and say, okay, you're smart enough to do this. And I really have to have that conversation with myself before I do something else.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. Um,
What is the message that you want to give to parents who say, "My children was disabled. We don't want our children to be different." I encourage our children to be different. My
yeah,
parents ended up apologizing to me because my sisters walked in lockstep by everything that they told them to do. I was the outlier. If they say go
yeah,
A, I was into Z. I
you
was
go
over
bit,
here.
yeah,
If I believed something could happen, I was going to make it happen. And it was when I jumped into an F-16 and broke the sound barrier in 2000. They called me and they said, okay, we always thought there was something different about you, but now we need to apologize because they were trying to make me
right.
normal.
Make you normal, right, right. And in a way, it's holding you back,
Well, they couldn't, thank
right,
the Lord.
right. Yeah, good, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
You
continued to do what
fought
I was
that.
doing. But what is the message you want to have for parents who may notice that their child is learning a little differently,
Mm.
shows up differently in class? What's the messaging that you have for those parents today?
It's very, very hard, and there is burnout because you have to advocate for your kid. You have to advocate for your kid. You have to try and find what works for your kid, and that's not easy. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. It's very, very worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
If you you might have somebody like to this person's point, Viola's the point, like you might have somebody in there who is at a who is willing to who is able to create and make something that will change and revolutionize everything for
Mm-hmm.
everyone else, but they
Mm-hmm.
need that opportunity. And as parents, our job is to kind of help them create those opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says, yes, it says honor thy mother and father, but it
Mm-hmm.
also says, Father, provoke not your sons.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rule with an iron fist. Don't try to fit them into a box. You have to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you're not flexible, then they're not going to get from you everything that they should be getting
Yes.
from you. And
Mm-hmm.
and that means that you can't just it can't be my way or the highway with it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't try to control my children. I believe control is
Mm-hmm.
a fallacy. I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
real. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really. And
Mm-hmm.
if you see a house full of six kids on a regular week, you will know that control is not like
Right.
you just try to keep the peace. And that's what it is. And but I think that um, you know, when we're talking about moving our kids forward and I'm not trying to make them all the same. I realize they're different. And I do think that flexibility and changing and adjusting and maturing with what you believe success is and what you're trying to help your kids, become
Mm-hmm.
is what we have to change our focus. We
Yes.
really, really do.
Yes.
And it's on us to do it because they're to an extent they are at our mercy.
Absolutely.
They're at our mercy. And we have to create the right environment
Yep. Yep.
for them to grow and to flourish, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't take a cactus and try to put it in a humid environment, you have to adjust the environment so the cactus
Mhm,
can grow. That's just the way it
mhm,
is. I don't know much about botany. I'm pulling
mhm.
it out there because I know cactus.
Yeah,
But
that's okay. So Monica says, my son could not do math in his head. The teachers hated that. It was frustrating to constantly advocate and demand assistance, but I did. With God and persistence, he's now currently a mechanic at SEPTA. Look at that,
you think
right?
about that. Think about the math, the brain that you have to have, right?
Mhm.
That you have to be able to have in order to be a mechanic. Like you can't just like and he took what they viewed as a weakness and now it
Mhm.
is a strength, is how he makes his living. Like
Amen.
that is
And
how.
listen, Danielle, mechanics are making a
Yeah.
ton of money. I needed rear brakes
Yes.
the other day. The brakes cost $80 to put the brakes and shave the rotors. $750. Mechanics are making more than
Right.
$100 an
They're
hour.
making they're making
Okay.
and that's
The-
we've all focused on these other jobs and now you got these people who who know
who
how to
can
do them
use
and they
their
can make
hands
money.
and do absolutely,
Yes. Right.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. Marguerite says people say they do not want their child to be labeled on paper, yet their children are labeled in the system. I believe parents can be a detriment to their children's growth on the autism wheel. It is one of the
Yes.
things where I have grandchildren, set of twins, 9, almost 10-year old, and a 2-year old. There's 4 of them, and there's another little baby coming March of next year. And I'm so proud of the way their parents are raising them. The 9-year old
Right.
had speech therapy and a bunch of other things. Act just like his
Yeah.
grandfather, so we know.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
grandfather,
Yeah.
but smart as hell. If he gets anything under a 99 on his report, he bursts into tears. That he is this
Yeah.
exceptional, I want to
Right.
always be, and they figured out a way to
Right.
put him into sports, whatever, to knock out some of that energy that they figured it
Right.
out without saying to anybody anything. The 3-year
Right.
old twins, they learned differently. Mom was like, all right, we're going to put them in preschool, give them what they need, and the teacher sending home notes and going, oh, these babies are really doing. But we have to get outside of ourselves and our emotional feelings, our
Right.
emotions, and say, I see my child is learning differently. What can I do? The 2-year old is as the teachers, when they looked at her and watched her, she has surpassed
Mm.
6-year olds. So each
Right.
child learns very differently, and we have to
Different.
reach them where
Right.
they are, navigate around where they are, and get them to the spaces where they need, without shame, without labeling, without making our children feel like they can or can't. Oh my God, that one is so smart. And what's wrong with you? We never do that
Right.
in this family. Never.
Right. 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 And that's really important. Like we try to highlight each one of our children's successes here, and it's a matter of, again, I can't stress it enough, the flexibility,
Mhm.
especially because like you're trying to change somebody. You
Change the
ever
way
heard
they're
this?
wired.
Right. You were who you were when you got here. If you have more than one child, you will know, and I'm not gonna say that. Maybe you can say the same thing if you have one child, but you ever look at a kid when they're a baby and they make a face or they do something and you don't think about it. But then later on in life, they're they're doing something and they make that same face, right? And it's the same set of circumstances. You're like, oh, you've been like this. And
Mm-hmm.
you can see the difference in them, especially if you have more than one. he, you're wired the way you're wired, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. That's really the way
Mm-hmm.
God made us. He made us to be wired differently,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that trying to make someone conform to something that they are not is
Yeah.
harmful to them,
Yeah.
right? It really is. And so we try to encourage like each and everything, exposure to. Exposure is very important. And I know this is difficult because everybody doesn't have the resources to get
Mm-hmm.
their child exposed to everything. But exposure is really important. My
It's
son wanted to
critical,
play
actually.
football.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
And
The
Daniel,
more
even
you,
if it's only just going outside
right,
and experimenting with the leaves, or talking about rocks and going on Google and saying this rock is this rock,
yes,
why, anything, exposure is
yes,
incredibly important,
yes, yes.
right?
It's imperative. You have to get your kids, and if they show an interest in something, don't mock it, right? Don't mock it. try to, because you never know. I have a kid that's obsessed with Minecraft, right? The
Mhm,
same kid that also struggles with math. In the Minecraft
mhm,
game, they do things in intervals of 8, right?
mhm,
So really looking at math, you're looking
mhm.
at building, you're looking at creativity.
Just
You
doing it
have to
differently.
find a way, right? You just have to
Mhm,
find a way to take that interest and
mhm,
turn it into something that they can teach and learn,
mhm.
even even with like some of the video games and some of those other things. You have to, why not, if your kid is like, I love video games, why not give them a class on coding, right? Or
Right.
something to help them develop in those things. If your kid has an imagination and he's outside fighting imaginary wars, then talk about the stories, write them. It's
Mhm.
just whatever can meet, right, meet the children where they are, because
Yeah,
that's what God would have us do with everybody where we're
absolutely.
at, is
Yeah,
meet them where they are.
yeah,
And I'm fortunate to have people who were willing to. It wasn't the school system that surrounded me, it was my family that surrounded me, and they surrounded me and made me feel like, it was almost to a point like when I was with them, I couldn't feel any of that stuff that came from school.
yes.
It didn't
Mhm,
touch me,
mhm,
right? It didn't touch me. And I was never mocked for it. I was never belittled for it. I was never any of those things. And it, and I think that that's really, really, really important. Like that
mhm,
really makes a difference. There
mhm,
has to be a safe place, because the
mhm,
world's cruel and people are going to look at your kid looking differently. Not
mhm,
everybody's going to be on your path, but
mhm,
as long as you
mhm,
have their back, there's nothing that can stop
mhm, mhm. We have, believe it or not, we have 3 minutes left. Can you stand it?
them.
You
Yo,
stand it? So, with these 3 minutes, talk to us a little bit about how people can find you and what are you doing with your life now?
okay. Wow. So, well, first off, I don't even know where to start, because I'm a licensed minister at Seven Cities Church, but that's in Virginia, so
Mhm,
so nobody can be there. But my wife and I started 1412 Connections, right? Which people can go on to 1412connections.com and look at our website. What we do is we create curriculum. There might be churches and uh, uh, organizations like nonprofits that want to develop classes.
mhm,
We can help facilitate that by developing
mhm,
those classes for the individual, whether or not you want it to be an all digital class or you want it to be in person. We
mhm,
usually write the scripts and put
mhm,
together the theme to kind of help it. We just need to know what it is that you
mhm,
that you like and or that you want. In addition to that, we are trying our hand at, we want to create uh, safe places that allow for us to get rid of generational curses for young people who don't have a soft place to land. So
mhm,
people who are aging out of foster care system, people who are getting out of prison, people who are maybe they went to the military, it didn't work out, and maybe they're just getting out of high school and there's nothing. But one of the things that we want to do is to um, help with that
mhm,
by creating these opportunities, getting them linked up, helping them find their way, and also teaching them certain things like budgeting, like healthcare, like things that generationally families don't talk
mhm,
about. And huh, I mean, there's a lot. We're
mhm.
just trying to do a lot. I'm trying to do it in a 3 minute standpoint. I think I almost
Mhm.
killed the 3 minutes.
No worries.
Um, so those are things we're interested in doing. Um,
Mhm. So they can go
I
to 1412connections.com to learn more.
yes, ma'am.
I
Yes,
want
ma'am.
to end, it's now 7:30. I want to end this by saying you shifted my perspective when I met you for the first time some weeks ago. I am grateful that
Mhm.
you exist, sir, because what you
Thank you.
imparted today on our show will teach a lot of people about judgment, about allowing children to learn at their own pace, about helping children to get diagnosed earlier, because I think there are a lot of children who are on some kind of
Yes.
spectrum, ADHD, this, that, whatever, and they're labeled as
Yes.
problem children from kindergarten, from preschool all the way through. And so when that
Yes.
label attaches themselves to them, teachers have very little patience,
Right.
which creates an issue for the parents. Work with the children,
Right.
how they learn, and you have to be able to advocate. That's the thing. You're not going to make it through these
Right.
systems without advocating properly for your children.
Right.
I passed a test when I was growing up that put me into high school at the age of 9. That's 9.
That's awesome.
That's 9.
That's
And
awesome.
so I don't even know if my parents recognized that in the moment, that there was something. They just treated me like any old body, and they were like, "You don't listen and you don't hear, and you just do whatever you want to do." They
Right.
thought I was someone who was just doing whatever I wanted to do. But in my
Right.
head, there were always processes in place to do what needed to be done to get where you need, not recognizing that this was a special skill and a gift. And it took them till
Right.
I was 42 to say, we kept trying to make you regular. We kept trying
Right.
to put force into you that you have to be like everybody else. Even as my mother lay dying, my father dragged me out of my mother's room and said, "You're the one we worry about because you don't fall in line." He
Right.
still didn't get it, right?
Right.
I think he's
Right.
just gotten to the point now where he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna leave her alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the message here is, stop judging people, stop looking at folks
Right.
differently because they
Right.
they they present differently, or
Right.
they're doing things not like what like everyone else does. There's something to be
Right.
said for when your brain is wired in such a way that you can see and work through the bullshit. Right,
Right.
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 Therefore,
Right.
and people on the autism wheel don't spend a lot of time sugarcoating and dancing around stuff, because you
No, they
see what
don't.
you see, you say what you say,
You say it. Yeah. It is to
right?
say it.
Right?
I think there's
And you learn
also
how to navigate.
expectation management too. Like we have to deal with our expectations. We
Yep,
expect one thing, we get something else, and then we get disappointed. You
yep,
have to manage your expectations.
yep, yep. It's so important. Danielle, oh my goodness, this was such a good conversation. Thank you so much for your willingness, Daniel Everett. Thank you so much for your willingness to
No,
engage
no
us
problem.
today, to have the conversation. And if you want to go see the whole interview, go on YouTube. You'll see it, or it's
Okay.
there on the A Lawful Truth page. You'll see it. You can
Okay.
share it, do whatever you want to do with it. And thank you for those of
Okay.
you who have sat silently and listened today about what we're talking about, because I know as we were discussing this, you could see where you could see where something was going on with you or with your child, and you were like, well, I don't want anybody to consider me different. I
Right.
remember, and Julie is on here, when she called me one day and said the parents in our children's elementary school were not treating her well, because she's quirky like me, right? And we sat
Right.
and we talked, and Julie today is one of the biggest advocate I have ever met in my life. She'll go down
That's
into the
awesome.
flames being an advocate. But those parents were
That's
trying to
awesome.
push her off to the side because she didn't present like them. She wasn't like them. She didn't, and
Right.
I enveloped her,
Right.
right? So it is very important that we love on one another and take care of one another, and stop trying to fit into boxes, because none of us were designed to fit into boxes. We're all designed to
Right.
be free thinking, flowing human beings. And the reason why we are where we are right now in society and around the world is because we allowed ourselves to be captured in separate boxes, to be seen as, to get likes, to get clicks, to be seen as popular.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
Nope, 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 nope. The one I want to hang out with is the one who doesn't always want to be in the room with everybody else.
Right. Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
part. Danielle, thank you so much. All the best to
Thank you
you,
for having
your
me.
family, and your
Yes.
children.
All right. Thank you very much. I loved it. Thank
You're welcome, my
you. All right.
brother. Love you too.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye bye. I am hoping that this conversation is one that uh, gave us food for thought. Oh, Julie said, thank God I found you. Thank God we found each other, because our children were in elementary schools then, and our children are now grown, gone off, married, doing all the things, and we're still friends. Those are the friendships that matter, right? It's not about who can I hang out with, who's popular, who's when I was in high school, I deliberately did not make myself one of the popular children. You know what I did? I would sit in the lab at lunchtime, and all the children that were sitting in the lab with me have gone on now to be amazing adults, because we would talk about world affairs. We were 12, 13, 14. We were talking about world affairs and all the things. all the things, and we did it, right? I need you all to take this conversation and share with your children, share with teachers, share with educators, share with aspiring educators, share with people who own daycare, share with parents, and remind them that all of us are different in a myriad of ways, and that we are to embrace each child uniquely. I don't want us to say, oh, they're disabled or they're special ed. They're unique. They're unique. If I was not born unique, you and I would have not met. How about that? How about that? Right? So be who you are, treat people well, find your thing. And my husband said, Albert Einstein still didn't know how to tie his shoelaces. He had difficulty tying his shoelaces, even though he created all these inventions. So we have to come out of this bubble of making sure, treating people strangely because they may be considered as different. Love to you all. Love, love, love. This episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye, darlings.